I stood in the doorway of the hospital room, hands trembling, jaw locked so tight it felt like it might shatter. There she was, Ashley, my wife of 6 goddamn years, sitting up in that hospital bed like some queen of betrayal, cradling a newborn that didn't belong to me. Her skin practically glowed, hair styled like she was posing for a magazine shoot, not recovering from childbirth. But it was her smile, the smug, satisfied curve of her lips, that almost made me lose it. She looked at me like nothing was wrong. In that soft, sugar-sweet voice she said, "Can you take me to see Matthew? I want to show him the baby he made." Every word she spoke felt like a bullet tearing through me. The baby he made. Not we. Not ours. His. I didn't answer right away. Just walked in slow. Too slow. Too calm. The nurse caught my eye, giving me that automatic congratulations, Dad smile, and I wanted to laugh. I wanted to scream. I wanted to smash everything in sight. Instead, I reached for the birth certificate neatly sitting on the tray beside her bed. Eyes locked on hers, I tore it in half. Then again, and again. The pieces drifted to the floor like dying embers. "You're crazy," her father shouted, springing up from the corner chair like a rocket. I didn't even flinch. I looked right at Ashley. "Not my child. Not my problem," I said, grabbing the folder from the table drawer, the hospital deposit paperwork, and shredding it too. Only the check I slipped back into my coat pocket. The whole room froze. Ashley blinked. Twice. Her smile cracked, crumbled. "What are you doing, Aaron?" she hissed. I stepped closer. Her father lunged for my arm, but I yanked it free. Leaned down, my mouth inches from her ear. "You slept with that alpha gym rat," I whispered. "And now you want me to raise his kid?" Her face went pale, then blotchy, then flushed red with humiliation. Right there, in front of her father, the nurse, and God himself, she broke down in tears. But me? I felt nothing. No pity. No sadness. Only a blinding clarity. Let's rewind. You want to know how it all came to this? How I ended up watching my wife give birth to another man's child like a background extra in someone else's tragedy. It started 8 months ago. She began coming home late. Real late. Past midnight. Sometimes close to 2. Always armed with an excuse. Book club ran long. Stacy had a crisis. The girls went out for mocktails. I gave her the benefit of the doubt. I was busting my ass at work, building a life for us. Figured she needed some breathing room. Stupid me. Then came the new makeup. The new lingerie I'd never seen before. The reek of that citrus vanilla perfume I hated. Now suddenly her favorite. And her phone? Glued to her hand. Screen flipped down. Notifications silenced. Once, I walked into the kitchen and caught her clutching her phone like a lifeline, fumbling it into her back pocket like a guilty teenager hiding DMs. I noticed it all, but I chose denial. Until that night. I came home early. Boss canceled a late meeting. It was around 7:30. Lights dimmed. House eerily quiet. Then I heard her voice. Soft. Breathless. Laughing. A laugh I hadn't heard in years. I followed the sound to the nursery. The baby's room. She was curled up in the rocking chair, phone to her ear, whispering, "Do you think she'll have your dimples?" Your dimples. Not ours. That was the moment something inside me snapped. But I didn't confront her. Not then. I walked back to my car, sat there gripping the steering wheel until my palms bled. And when I walked back inside like nothing happened, she smiled at me, smiled with lips still tasting someone else's kiss. I should have left right then. I didn't. I waited. Waited for the birth. Waited to see if she'd ever come clean. She never did. Not until today, in that sterile hospital room, when she asked me to chauffeur her and his baby like some Uber driver. And when I refused, her father launched himself at me like a man possessed. "You son of a," he barked. I shoved him back with one hand, never once breaking eye contact with Ashley. "You wanted to live like a queen?" I said, voice low, steady. "You can, but not with my crown." The nurse screamed for security. Ashley clutched the baby tighter, sobbing, shielding herself with the child she had built her lies around. And me? I walked out of that hospital without looking back once. But that wasn't the end. Not even close. What happened next? That's the part nobody saw coming. Not by a long shot. I didn't go home that night. I couldn't. I drove for hours with nowhere in mind, stopping once at some grimy 24-hour diner in Jersey. Ordered coffee I never drank. My hands shook too much, my heart pounding like a war drum in my chest. Every second, the same image replayed. Ashley's smug little smirk as she cradled his child, asking me to drive her straight to her lover. The audacity. The pure, blinding arrogance. By 3 a.m., I landed at a cheap motel off the highway, where I stared at a cracked ceiling for hours. When sleep finally came, it was poisoned by her voice whispering, "Do you think she'll have your dimples?" That one sentence corroded every memory we'd ever built. Our wedding, our honeymoon in Maui, the night we danced barefoot in the kitchen, it all crumbled into smoke and lies. By morning, my anger had sharpened into something cold. I wasn't numb. I was razor-edged. I needed answers. Not for court. Not for sympathy. For me. I drove home around 9. The house was silent. Empty. She'd be stuck in the hospital for another 2 days at least. I didn't hesitate. I went straight to her closet. And that's when I found it. A locked drawer, bottom left. Ashley had always said it was just old journals and cards from high school friends. Bullshit. I pried it open with a crowbar from the garage. Inside, I found a slim notebook and a flash drive. The notebook was a graveyard of lies. Hearts, dates, initials scribbled everywhere. Imred Hart, third time at the studio. So intense. Beach day with him. Aaron thinks I'm at mom's. Page after page, year after year. Bold, unrepentant betrayal. She didn't just cheat. She lived in the cheating like it was a second life. I plugged the flash drive into my laptop. Dozens of video files. One folder labeled Leg Day Fire. Against every screaming instinct, I clicked. There she was, wearing the leggings I bought her for Christmas, bent over in front of some sweaty, grinning slab of muscle I recognized instantly. Matthew, the trainer. The man I'd been unknowingly funding every damn Tuesday and Thursday. The video cut off before it turned explicit. It didn't have to. Her giggles. The way she touched his arm. The way she kissed him when she thought no one was watching. I closed the laptop and sat there in a silence so thick it felt like drowning. Then I packed a bag. Essentials only. I left the rest. The house, the memories, the wreckage. She could rot in it. But I didn't leave town. Not even close. Ashley thought she played the game well. Thought she could juggle her playground and her safety net forever. But I had been quiet too long. Forgiving too long. I was done. That afternoon, I booked a lawyer. Told him everything. Showed him the notebook. The footage. The torn birth certificate. "You're not raising that kid," he said bluntly. "And with this, you'll keep your assets. Guaranteed." Good. For the first time in weeks, a sliver of peace cracked through the storm inside me. But I wasn't chasing peace. I wanted truth. And Ashley was about to get a hell of a lot more than she ever bargained for. When she got discharged, I made sure I was there. Waiting. Not inside. No. I stayed outside. Parked just far enough to avoid hospital security, just close enough for her to see me. When she stepped out, wearing a soft pink robe, cradling her lover's baby, her eyes locked onto mine. I rolled down the window and waved. She froze, staring like she'd seen a ghost rise from the grave. Her father muttered something under his breath, glaring, but I didn't care. Ashley clutched the baby tighter, then hesitated and walked toward me. "Aaron, what are you doing here?" she asked, forcing a brittle smile. I didn't answer, just held out the manila envelope. She took it with shaking hands. "What is this?" "Your next chapter," I said. She opened it. Her eyes darted across the first page, then the second. Her fingers trembled harder with every line. "This is, you're divorcing me?" Her voice cracked, thin as glass. "Full release," I said. "Assets, property, bank accounts." I nodded toward the baby swaddled in blue. "And a paternity waiver. I'm not paying a cent for that kid." Shock flickered across Ashley's face, quick and raw. Then it hardened into rage. "You can't just..." I stepped forward, voice low and steady. "I can." And I did. Her father's posture stiffened, stepping closer like he had something to say, but I cut him off with a raised hand. "This is between me and her." Ashley's bottom lip trembled. "You're doing this now?" "Right after I gave birth." "Perfect timing," I said. "No more pretending. The mask's off." She scoffed, desperate now. "What about what we had, Aaron? What about the years we spent together?" "You mean the years I paid for your gym membership?" I said coldly. "So you could sneak off and play house with Matthew?" The color drained from her face. She knew I knew. And for the first time, she had no defense. But I wasn't finished. I leaned in, my voice like ice. "And here's the best part." I spoke to his wife. Her jaw dropped. "What?" "Yeah. Turns out Matthew's married. 2 kids. Cozy little suburban life in Ohio." I smiled, cruel and clean, until I sent her the videos. The texts. Your notebook entries. Ashley froze, mouth open, eyes wide, her brain scrambling to keep up with the collapse of her little empire. Don't worry, I added. She's flying in next week. Wants to meet the woman who wrecked her family. Ashley's knees buckled slightly, and she gripped the stroller for balance. Good. Let her feel it. Let her drown in it. You're a monster, she hissed. No, Ashley, I whispered back. I'm a mirror. You're just finally seeing yourself. Her father stormed forward, furious. You'll pay for this. I met his rage with calm. I already did, I said. For 6 years. I'm done now. And with that, I turned, climbed into my car, and drove away without a second glance. But the story didn't end there. That night, a message lit up my phone from an unknown number. You're the husband? We need to talk. He ruined my life too. It was Claire, Matthew's wife. Before I could even type back, another message came through. I saw the videos. Thank you for sending them. He always said his late nights were training sessions. Yeah, I thought grimly. Training for betrayal. I stared at her words for a long moment, feeling the strange comfort of knowing the monster that lived under my bed had haunted someone else's house too. Finally, I typed back. He got my wife pregnant. Found out at the hospital the day she gave birth. Her typing bubble popped up instantly. He told me they stopped months ago. I guess that was a lie too. I didn't know what I expected from her. Bitterness, rage, silence. But instead, she asked, "Can I call you?" I hesitated, then typed, "Give me 10 minutes." I grabbed a beer from the fridge, stepped onto the back porch. Rain fell in a soft, steady drizzle. Peaceful, in a way that only made the storm inside me louder. When the phone rang, I answered. Her voice was tired, rough around the edges, but strong. "I'm sorry you're going through this," Claire said. "I wouldn't wish it on anyone." "You too," I said, the words scraping out of my throat. "How long did you know?" "Found a message on his Apple Watch a few months back," she said, voice trembling. Ash and a heart emoji. "He said it was just a client being friendly." I wanted to believe him. Her voice cracked for a second, then steadied. But something in my gut, something never sat right. "Yeah," I muttered. "That gut feeling. We ignore it until it's too late." She was quiet for a moment, then asked softly, "Your wife, she got pregnant?" "Due dates lined up perfectly with their gym sessions," I said bitterly. "And now she wants me to raise their kid. Like it's some kind of prize for playing the fool." Claire exhaled sharply. God, these people. For a while, we just sat there. Two strangers, two broken hearts, tethered together by the wreckage of the same lies. "You said you're coming into town next week?" I asked. "I was," Claire replied. "But now, I think I want to come sooner. I need closure. I want to look Ashley in the face." I smiled bitterly. "You and me both." And then, like a lightning bolt, the idea struck. What if we did it together? I said slowly. You, me, and them. One room. No more lies. No more games. She didn't answer right away. Then, I'm in. 2 days later, Claire flew in. We met at a coffee shop downtown. I spotted her instantly. Tall, sharp cheekbones, eyes carved from too much pain for someone still in their 30s. We sat across from each other like detectives comparing crime scenes. "She begged me not to go public," Claire said, stirring her coffee. "Told me she loved him, that they had a connection." Her mouth twisted, like I was some obstacle standing in the way of her fairy tale. My jaw clenched. Ashley said almost the same thing, that she felt alive with him, like our life together was a cage she needed to escape. Claire leaned in, voice like a blade. "I want to see their faces when they realize it's over. Not just for one of us. For both." I nodded. We made a plan. Ashley thought she was meeting me to talk things out at her favorite Italian place. Matthew thought Claire had forgiven him, wanted a private sit-down. We rented the back room. When they walked in, smiling, hand in hand, they froze. Claire and I sat side by side, silent. We watched their faces crack. Matthew's arm dropped from Ashley's waist. She stumbled back a step like she'd seen a ghost. Claire stood up slowly, calm but trembling. "So," she said, voice steady enough to cut glass. "Who wants to explain first?" Silence swallowed the room, and the real storm hadn't even begun yet. Ashley's face twisted into something raw, panicked, desperate. She turned to Matthew, voice hissing. "You told me she moved out." Matthew's mouth opened, but no words came. His lips just flapped uselessly, eyes wide. like a man realizing the rope he trusted was a noose tightening around his throat. Claire didn't flinch. She stepped forward and dropped a thick manila envelope onto the table. Bank records, hotel receipts, text messages, security footage from our garage, she listed flatly. You two are disgusting. Ashley stared at the envelope like it might catch fire. I didn't mean for it to happen like this, she mumbled. I laughed, loud, sharp, breaking the tension like glass shattering. Heads turned, but I didn't care. You didn't mean for what? I said. For me to walk into that hospital room and hear you beg to introduce your bastard child to your gym rat boyfriend? For me to find out I was your insurance policy while you played house with a steroid junkie? Matthew finally found his voice. Look, man, I didn't know she was married at first. Save it, I snapped. You've been to my house. You helped me carry that treadmill into the basement. I offered you a damn beer. Ashley stepped forward, desperation bleeding into her voice. Aaron, please. I know I messed up, but we can work through this. I just had a baby. I'm hormonal. I wasn't thinking straight. Claire let out a low, bitter chuckle. Oh no, sweetie. You were thinking very straight. For 9 months. Ashley whipped around to her, frantic. You don't understand. He said he was going to leave you. He said he wanted to be with me. Matthew's eyes flared in panic. What? No, I didn't. I told you I was trying to work things out with Claire. Silence, heavy and brutal, collapsed over the room. Ashley looked like she might collapse herself. And that's when I said it. That baby. I said. Good luck getting Matthew's name on the birth certificate. I had my lawyer file a paternity waiver. You'll be getting exactly 0 support from me. Ashley blinked like the words didn't compute. You can't do that. Claire smiled tightly. He already did. You ruined everything. Ashley sobbed. No, I said, rising from my seat, slow and final. You did. One lie at a time. One betrayal after another. You torched our marriage and expected me to hand you the matches. Claire stood too, her voice calm, lethal. And Matthew? We're done. I spoke to a lawyer back in Ohio. I'm taking the kids and the house. You'll be lucky if you get weekends in a motel. Matthew paled, sagging like a man punched in the gut. I made a mistake, he croaked. No, Claire said coldly. You made choices. The silence that followed was suffocating. The sound of 2 people watching the world they built on lies collapse into ash. Ashley crumpled into a chair, broken, sobbing. Matthew just stood there, hands on his head, like if he squeezed hard enough, he could rewind reality. I glanced at Claire, and for the first time since this whole nightmare began, I saw it. A sliver of strength burning behind both our eyes. We turned and walked out together. No glances back. We didn't need to. We'd already seen everything we needed to see. Outside, the rain had finally stopped. Claire exhaled, long and slow. You know what the worst part is? She said quietly. I shook my head. They didn't even say sorry. Somehow, that made it all feel even more real. But broken? No, we weren't broken anymore. We were just getting started. I didn't go straight home after the confrontation. Claire and I sat in my car, parked outside the restaurant, rain still dripping from the roof. Half an hour passed in silence, thick with betrayal, heavy with words neither of us could find. I thought I'd feel better, Claire muttered at last, staring out the windshield. Yeah, I said. Me too. We both laughed, a raw, exhausted sound more like breath clawing its way out of 2 battered chests. I'm going to be honest with you, she said, turning to me, eyes hollow but determined. I feel like I just lost a 10-year war I didn't even know I was fighting. I feel like I spent 6 years fighting for the wrong team, I replied. And that's the thing no one tells you about betrayal. It doesn't just break you. It disorients you. It twists up your past until you don't even recognize your own memories. Every laugh, every late-night talk, every hand you thought you were holding safe, you start questioning it all. Ashley sent me 7 messages that night. The first said we need to talk. The second, I'm sorry. The third was a photo of the baby. The rest? A rotating carousel of guilt, manipulation, and desperation. I didn't reply to a single one. Instead, I poured a whiskey, sat on the couch, and started scrolling through old photos on my phone. Vacations, birthdays, drunken midnight kitchen dances. All fake. All burned away. I spent years building a life with someone who was busy building a backup. Then came the texts from mutual friends. Dude, what happened? Ashley says you lost it at the hospital. Heard you, and some woman ambushed her at dinner? I ignored them too. People pick sides without knowing a damn thing. That's the real trick about cheaters. They don't just betray you. They recruit for their next pity party. They spin their story, cry on cue, play the victim so well it could win awards. I wasn't auditioning for that circus anymore. The next day, I got served. A cease and desist from Matthew's lawyer. Cease and desist from distributing defamatory material. I laughed out loud reading it. He thought he could shut me up. I called my lawyer. Can I respond? I asked. He chuckled. Oh, we're not just responding. We're countering. We filed a claim for emotional damages. Included evidence of Ashley's defamation. Authorized Claire to use every photo, every text, every piece of evidence in her own divorce case. 2 days later, Matthew's lawyer folded like a cheap suit. Claire called, real laughter in her voice this time. He's scared, she said. Like really scared. Good. He should be. Because I wasn't the same man anymore. Not the naive, over-trusting fool who believed in working it out. I had seen the truth, lived it, and it changed me. I changed my number. Blocked Ashley on everything. Froze the joint accounts. Closed every door she might try to slip through. She didn't take it well. She showed up at my door, tears streaming, baby in her arms. Aaron, please, she begged. Just give me 5 minutes. I stepped outside, pulling the door shut behind me. I gave you 6 years, I said. You used every minute to lie. She looked wrecked, hollowed out. But not sorry. Just scared. Scared of losing her lifestyle. Scared of losing control. You don't understand, she stammered. Matt left me. He says it's too much pressure. I blinked slowly. You mean the man who made a baby with you doesn't want to raise it either? She said nothing. I leaned in closer, voice low. Sounds like karma came early this year. She wiped at her face, looking around like someone, anyone, might jump in to save her. But no one came. Not this time. You ruined my life, she whispered. No, I said, stepping back inside and locking the door behind me. You just finally have to live in it. The silence that followed was deafening. I stood there, forehead resting against the wood, listening to her soft sobs fade down the driveway until there was nothing left but the wind. And in that emptiness, something settled inside me. Not peace, not forgiveness, but a strange, solid calm. Like standing among the ruins after a building falls, dust still hanging in the air, and finally seeing the sky. My life, as I knew it, was over. But for the first time, that didn't scare me. I spent the next week cleaning out the house. Not just physically, though I did toss every framed photo, every fake love letter, every damn scented candle she left behind, but emotionally too. One piece of ash at a time. I started pulling myself back together, slow and clumsy, like a shattered puzzle dumped onto the floor. Some moments cut deep. I'd find a pair of her earrings tangled in the carpet, or one of those old prenatal books, sticky notes still clinging to the pages. Can't wait for him to kick. Each time, it felt like a blade twisting deeper into my ribs. Because back then, I believed those notes. I believed every word she wrote. But the truth was, she never meant them. Claire and I kept in touch sometimes. Nothing romantic. Nothing messy. Just two people pulling themselves out of the same fire, trying to rebuild what life had burned down. One morning, she sent me a message that stuck. The worst part isn't losing them. It's realizing they never existed the way you thought they did. I stared at those words for a long time, because it was true. Ashley wasn't who I thought she was. And after everything, I wasn't the same man anymore, either. One night, I sat on the back porch, drink in hand, watching the sunset bleed across the horizon, when a message popped up from a number I hadn't seen coming. Hey, it's Stacy. I just found out what happened. I'm so sorry. Stacy, Ashley's best friend. The one I always thought was too loyal. Too blind. She lied to everyone, Stacy wrote. Told us you left her while she was pregnant. Said you demanded a paternity test out of spite. I feel sick. She played all of us, I replied. You were just another piece on her board. Stacy asked if I was okay. And for once I was. Not healed. Not great. But okay. I wasn't checking Ashley's socials anymore. I wasn't replaying the betrayal on a constant loop. I could get through a whole day without seeing Matthew's smug face in my mind, without hearing Ashley's soft, poisonous voice in that hospital room. I was breathing again. Then came the letter. Not a text. Not an email. An actual handwritten letter in a floral envelope. Ashley. 3 pages, front and back, pouring out apologies. How she lost herself during the pregnancy. How Matthew wasn't the man she thought he was. how she wished she could go back and choose me instead. She ended it with, "Even if you can't forgive me, I want you to know you were the best part of my life." I folded the letter, tucked it into a drawer, didn't respond. Because forgiveness doesn't always come with a reply. Sometimes it comes with silence. And I'd already said everything I needed to say. 2 weeks later, Claire texted me. "Just finalized the divorce. Signed the papers right in front of him." He cried. I didn't. I smiled reading it. "Proud of you," I wrote back. "Freedom looks good on us." And it did. For the first time in what felt like forever, I wasn't just surviving. I was beginning again. It was a quiet Sunday morning when I finally stepped back into the gym. The same gym where Ashley had met Matthew. The same place I'd unknowingly funded their secret little rendezvous while I worked overtime to build a future worth coming home to. I stood in the locker room for a while, staring at my reflection. Same face. But the eyes were different. They'd seen too much. Not the kind of battle scars you can show, but the kind that change you forever. And yet, I was still standing. I walked into the weight room like a man returning to a crime scene. Not for revenge, but for reclamation. That place didn't own me. Their betrayal didn't get to keep my peace. I did. I wasn't there to confront anyone. But fate has a twisted sense of humor. Matthew was there. Alone. No clipboard. No cocky smirk. Just sweat-stained sleeves and a face that hadn't seen decent sleep in weeks. He spotted me immediately. I expected him to flinch. To look away. He didn't. He walked toward me, slow, like a man approaching his own funeral. "Aaron," he said, voice low. "Look, I know nothing I say means anything right now, but..." I cut him off. "Good. Then don't say anything." He froze, mouth open, words dying in his throat. "I don't want your apology," I said, stepping closer, voice steady. "I don't want your closure. I don't even want to hear your voice. I just want you to understand. I see you now. No mask. No ego. Just a hollow coward who couldn't keep his promises or his pants zipped." He said nothing, just stood there, swallowing shame like it burned on the way down. "I hope you treat your next life better," I added quietly. "Because you torched this one." And with that, I walked past him, picked up a barbell, and started lifting. He didn't follow. Over the next few months, I rebuilt. Not in some grand, cinematic transformation, but piece by piece. Quietly. Relentlessly. And this time, every piece was mine. I joined a book club, started journaling, took a solo trip to Vermont, and, for the first time in years, found peace in the silence. I went to therapy, pushed through the rage, the self-doubt, the gut punch flashbacks. And slowly, the poison bled out of my system. I met new people. Good people. Not to replace what I'd lost, but to build something real from scratch. Claire and I kept in touch now and then, like old war buddies swapping scars. Started painting, she wrote once. "It's messy. I like it." I told her about Vermont, how I stood at the edge of a cliff and screamed every last angry thought into the trees. How it felt like exhaling a decade's worth of poison in a single breath. "Sounds healing," she said. "You deserve that." And I did. But healing wasn't beautiful. It wasn't tidy. Some nights, I still woke up furious. Still dreamed of that hospital room. Still wondered what might have been, if she had chosen loyalty over lies. But those thoughts didn't own me anymore. They visited. I just didn't invite them to stay. 1 year after the divorce was finalized, I got a message from an unknown number. "He's not coming to visit." Again, I don't know what to tell her when she asks where her daddy is. "Ashley." I stared at the message for a long time. Let the weight of it sit in my chest. Then I deleted it. Because here's the truth. I wasn't her savior. I wasn't her second choice. I wasn't the man who'd raise someone else's child just because she'd run out of options. I was free, and I finally understood. Walking away wasn't the hard part. Staying gone was. If I could give one piece of advice to anyone reading this, anyone clawing their way through betrayal, it's this. Listen to your gut. Watch the late-night phone flips, the hollow kisses, the little lies that pile up like kindling. They're not just red flags. They're alarms. Don't silence them. And when betrayal knocks you down, don't just get up. Rise different. Rise stronger. Rise free. Because love is real. But so is deception. And the truth, the raw, brutal truth, is the only thing worth holding on to. I let go of her. And I found myself.